Hey there, Jess here from JewelryTutorialHQ.com. Today I'm going to show you how to make some cute and easy handmade head pins and simple bead dangles. You'll need some 22 gauge or 0.6 millimeter wire that is half hard, and both gauge and hardness are important so that the loops will be sturdy and strong enough not to pull apart. You'll also need a pair of round nose pliers, some chain nose pliers, and some flush cutters, and some 4 millimeter beads. And you'll want to make sure the holes in the beads will be big enough to go over the 22 gauge wire. First, I'm going to show you how to make a simple head pin. Starting with a straight piece of wire that's about 3/4 of an inch to an inch long. Make sure we're starting with a flush cut end, meaning using the back of the flush cutters to trim off that burr and make sure we've got a nice flat piece of wire to start our curl. Using the very end of my round nose pliers, I'm going to grab the tip of the wire, make sure the end isn't sticking out between the plier jaws, so I shouldn't feel anything there with my fingers. Then I'll brace the wire here between my thumb and forefinger as I roll the pliers away from me to create a tiny curl in the wire. So you'll have something that looks like this. Now I'm using my chain nose pliers to squeeze that down. I want to straighten this up so the curl is going to be centered at the bottom of the bead. I'm just going to bend the wire back very slightly here as I hold on to the bottom part with the chain nose pliers. So now the curl is going to be centered. Of course, you'll want to make sure this part is going to be large enough to stop the bead from falling off, so you might need to make this slightly larger depending on the beads. There are a few different ways that I teach to make the loop at the top of the bead here, and I'm going to show you the one that I call a cheat because it's probably the easiest for most people. This technique that we're learning is called a simple loop or a basic wire loop, as opposed to a wire wrapped loop where you wrap the wire around to secure it. So here's how to make the dangle with a simple loop. Keeping in mind that the size of the loop is going to depend on where you place the wire along the plier jaws, grab the wire with the round nose pliers about a ½ inch away from the bead. Brace the wire between your thumb and forefinger here and press against the wire as you roll the pliers away from you to start turning the loop until you can't turn your wrist anymore. Then loosen your grip and come back to the starting position, making sure that you don't move the wire up and down the plier jaws or you'll get a distorted shaped loop. And then you can pull the tail around the plier jaw to complete that loop once you've got that front jaw out of the way. The loop should be just about touching the top of the bead, but if it's not and you've got too much space here, you can just continue to roll the loop closer until you get it in the right spot. We've got a crooked loop here, so we want to straighten it up so the bead will hang straight. In this case, the loop is lopsided to the left, so I need to bend it back a little bit to the right to make it centered. Grab the loop so you have one jaw on the inside and one on the outside, just at the base there. Bend back in the direction of the wire tail to get that loop standing up straight. Then we can come in with the flush cutters and trim the extra wire. And this is why I like to have really fine and pointed flush cutters like these instead of the ones with the rounded tips. Make sure you use the back of the flush cutters to snip the extra wire off right before where it overlaps the base of the loop. If the loop is open, then you'll use the chain nose pliers to grasp the loop like this and wiggle it back and forth just like opening and closing a jump ring. You don't want to squash the loop like we did with the curled head pin though. Just wiggle it back and forth, moving it closer each time to close up the gap. Now I hope you'll practice making some of these head pins and simple dangles. I have some fun projects coming up for you that are going to use some of these dangles, so be sure to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss those upcoming episodes. By the way, you can check out a free trial of my online wire wrapping for beginners class at jthqacademy.com, where you'll learn some great tips for making perfect, simple loops and the different methods that I teach. I'll see you next time.